Today we'll be looking at the study guide for our Chapter 6 test. Estimate by using 10%. So I'm going to take 34 and I'm going to estimate that to 30. And I'm going to estimate this 87 to 90. And it's by 10%. So 10% of 90. Now to figure out a number by 10%, you move the decimal over one spot from the right. So I end up with 9. Now I'll do 9 times 3 to get 27. So I can say that 34% of 87 is about 27. So just recapping my steps, first thing I did was I converted my 34 into 30. Then I did my 87 into 90. Then, because I'm estimating by 10%, I do 10% of 90, which is 9. Then I take the 3 and I multiply it times 9 to get 27. Let's look at number 2. We have 24% of 76. So I'm going to go ahead and estimate 24 to 20 of, and I'm going to go ahead and estimate 76 to 80. Okay. Now, because I'm estimating by 10%, I'm going to do 10% of 80, which is 8. Now I'm going to do 2 times 8, which is 16. So recapping my steps, I did 24 into 20 and 76 into 80. Because I'm estimating by 10%, I do 10% of 80, which is 8, and then 2 times 8, which is 16. So I can say that 24% of 76 is about 16. Okay, write the following as a decimal, percent, and fraction in simplest form. Alright, so I know that there are 10 by 10, so there's 100 squares here. And remember, a percent is per 100, so I'm going to write this as 1. Then I'm going to do, let's see, there's 10 out of 100. 10 out of 100. Okay, so writing it as a fraction, it's going to be 1 and 10 over 100. Which is equal to 1 and 1 over 10. That's as a fraction. As a decimal, it's going to be 1.10. 1.10. Because there are 10%, 10 per 100 filled in this box, and there are 100% filled in this box. So we have 1.10. As a percentage, we have 100% filled in this box, plus 10 more in this box, so we have 110%. Let's continue. 18%. As a fraction, remember, per 100, so we have 18 over 100. Next, I have to simplify, so I'll divide both of these by 2. I get 9 over 50. So as a fraction, 18% is 9 over 50. Now it's already a percentage, so I don't really have to do much of anything with that, but I'll write it down here anyway. 18%. And then as a decimal, it's going to be 0.18. Let's continue. Write the following as a fraction, decimal, and percent in simplest form. So we have 2 left here. So we have 2.45 as a fraction is going to be 2 and 45 over 100. 45 over 100, I could divide both of these by 5. Get 2 and 9 over 20. And I can't simplify that any further. Now I have to figure out what this is a percentage. So let's see. So there's 1,245%. And I can move my decimal 2 places to the right to verify that that's my percentage. Let's continue. We have 123%. So we already have our percentage, so now we just have to convert it into a decimal and into a fraction. Let's start by converting it into a decimal. So I'll start from the right, moving it over 2 places. So my decimal is 1.23. Next, my fraction is going to be 1 per 123 over 100. Since I can't simplify 23 over 100, that's my answer. Number 7. Solve the following. What percent of 45 is 80? So to begin, I'll set up a proportion. And I remember that I have percent over 100 is equal to is over of. What percent of 45 is 80? So my percentage, I'm missing. So I'll put an X. Over 100 of 45 is 80. So I'll do 80 over 45. So now we have 45x is equal to, multiplying opposite, 8,000 dividing both sides by 45. And if you divide 8,000 by 45, you come up with approximately 177.78. Approximately. You can say then that what percent of 45 is 80? 177%. Number 8. 33% of what number is 45? So let's set up a ratio. Alright, so there's a proportion there. We have 33 over 100 is over of, or percent over 100 is equal to 40 is 45. So 45 and x. So now we'll cross multiply. We do 45 times 100. You get 4,500. 33 times x. We get 33x. Next, we'll divide both sides by 33. Canceling out the 33s. And when you divide 4,500 by 33, you get 136.36 repeating. So what number is 45? What 33% of what number is 45? 136.36. Let's continue. Number 9. 55% of 100. Okay, so I'll do 55 over 100 is equal to is over of. Now I multiply opposite to get 100x is equal to 5,500. Then I divide both sides by 100. I can take off the zeros, and I'm left with 55 over 1, or 55. 55% of 100 is 55. Number 10. 9 is 12% of what number? So we have 12 over 100 is equal to 9 over x. So I have my proportion set up, so I'll go ahead and multiply opposite. We got 12x is equal to 900. Divide both sides by 12. The 12s cancel out. And I'm left with x is equal to 75. So 9 is 12% of what number? 75. Let's look at number 11. We're looking for the percent of change. 25 is the original and 55 is the new amount. So if you remember our formula for the percent of change, you have to do the two numbers minus each other over the original amount. So I'll go ahead and subtract 55 from 25 to get 30, and 30 over 25. Next I need to divide. I'll put the 25 on the outside and the 30 on the inside. 25 can go into 30 one time with 5 remainder. Next I have to add a decimal and a 0 and bring my 0 down. 25 goes into 50 two times with a remainder of 0. So my decimal is 1.2. Now remember, we're looking for a percent of change. So to figure out what the percent of change is, we move our decimal over 2 places to the right, and we fill in our zeros. Fill in our blanks with zeros. So then the percent of change from the original amount 25 to 55 is 120%. Let's move on to number 12. Number 12. This, by the way, would have been a percent increase. Number 12. The original amount is 35 and the new amount is 14. Is that a percent increase or a percent decrease? Well, it's a percent decrease, so we know that. So let's go ahead and subtract the bigger from the smaller. 35 minus 14. You get 21. Next, I have to write my difference over my original amount. You get 21 over 35. Next, I'll divide. You do 35 on the outside and 21 on the inside. 21 can't go into 35, so we have to add a decimal. 35 can go into 210 6 times. 35 times 6 is 210. But the remainder is 0. Because we're finding the percent of change, we have to convert our decimal into a percentage. Can you remember from the last example how we converted a decimal into a percentage? Well, we move the decimal over 2 places to the right and fill the blanks in with zeros. %, decrease. Last year, Karina earned $31,025. Of that amount, she spent $3,612.59 on food. What percent of her income went to food? Round to the nearest tenth. So we want to set up a proportion to solve this problem here. Now, if you notice what I'm missing here is your percent of income. So I'm going to go ahead and set up a proportion where I'm missing my percent of income. Now, if you think back to our lessons, we said that we had percent over 100 is equal to part over whole. Part over whole. So we'll put the partial amount on top, which is what she spent on food. And we'll put the total amount on the bottom. Part over whole. Now we multiply opposite to get 31025 is equal to, now 100 times 3612.59 is that much. Next, I'll divide both sides by 31,000. And when I divide 361259 divided by 31025, I end up with approximately 11.644. So estimating that percentage, we could say it's approximately 11.6%. Jennifer made a fruit juice using red and green grapes. 30% of the grapes are green. If she used a total of 90 grapes, how many red grapes should she use? So we'll begin by setting up a proportion where we have percent over 100 is equal to part over whole. So our percent is 30% out of 100. Our total amount is 90 over x. Now we'll cross multiply. We have 100x is equal to 30 times 90 is 2700. Next, I'll divide both sides by 100. To get x is equal to 27. So how many red grapes should she use? She should use 27. Number 15. At the beginning of the month, you invest $500 in your best friend's new company. Your friend promises to pay you 7.5 interest on the amount each month. How much money did you earn in interest in the first month? Do you remember what the word interest means? Interest means it's one of those words where you're going to have to add on the end of your problem. So let's begin. So we have 500 and I have 7.5% interest. Now I have to begin by turning that into a decimal. And I can do that by moving this 2 places to the left. Remember, when you're converting a percentage into a decimal, you go 2 spaces to the left. Now I'll go ahead and multiply 0.075 times 500. So I get 0.025, 0.035, and then 0.00000. 37500. Moving in 3 places from the right to get 37500. Since we're talking about money, we don't need to include these zeros. So we could just say $37.50. So the question again asked, how much money did you earn in interest each month in the first month? Well, it didn't ask you for the amount you earned after. It just asked you for the amount for that single month. So then, the answer was $37.50. Carrie purchases an antique shelf at a flea market for $35. She cleans it up by sanding it and painting it. After all their improvements, she sells it for 30% more than what she originally purchased it for. What was the profit Carrie made by selling the shelf? So we're looking for the profit earned. So we can go ahead and you can actually set this up 2 different ways. So let me show you both ways. So to start, we can do 35 times 0.30. Get 0, 0, get 5, and then carry the 1. we get 6, 99, 10, 1050. So squeezing that in here, we end up with, we add these together, we get 10, move the decimal 2 places, 1050. So her profit then is simply just 1050. Because we don't want to include the $35, the amount she purchased it for originally. Another way you can do this problem is by doing 30 over 100 is equal to x over 35. Where our percentage goes in for here, over 100, is equal to our total amount, which is 35, over our partial amount, which is x. So I can go ahead start by multiplying opposite to get 100x is equal to 1,050. Next, I'll divide both sides by 100. And when I divide by 100, I can simply move the decimal over 2 places from the right. Get 1050. So both ways works, and on your test you can choose either way. Tom went to purchase a new video game. The original price was $60. What is it? But it was his lucky day. It's on sale for $32. What is the percentage change? So if you remember from our problems up here, to find the percentage change, you're going to do 60 minus 32 you get 28. Do you remember what comes next? So I'll have to do the original amount. So I have the difference over the original amount. So now I have 28 over 60. Now I'll divide where the 60 is on the outside and the 28 is on the inside. 60 can't go into 28, so I add a decimal. 60 can go into 28 4 times. 6 times 40, 6 times 4 is 240. I get a remainder of 40. I add a 0 here. 60 can go into 400 6 times. You get 360 with a remainder of 40. One more time, but I bet it's going to repeat. 60 goes into 400, 360 times, and it's a repeating decimal. So we have 0.466. So now we want to convert this into a percent. Can you remember from our previous examples how to convert a decimal into a percent? Well, we simply move the decimal over 2 places to the right. So we end up with 46.6%, or about 47. Sam went to Chili's for dinner. His bill was $36.45. He wants to leave a 15% tip for his server. How much will his tip be? How much total will he be spending for dinner? As we know, there's several ways we can solve this problem here. I'm going to go ahead and show you one way. Our percentage of tip would be 3, 6, 4, 5 times 0.15. I converted my percent into a decimal. Now I'll go ahead and multiply. 5 times 5 is 25. Carry the 2. 4 times 5 is 20 plus 2. Carry the 2. 6 times 5 is 30 plus 2. Makes 32. Carry the 3. 3 times 5 is 15 plus 3 is 18. Now add a place value. 5 times 1 is 5. 1 times 4 is 4. 6 times 1 is 6. 3 times 1 is 3. 5 plus 0 is 5. 2 plus 5 is 7. 6 plus 2 plus 4 is 6. 8 plus 6 is 14. Here's the 1. So we get 5, 4, 6, 7, 5. Now I have to move my decimals 4 spots from the right. And I end up with 5.4675. Now because we're talking about money, we want to round to the nearest hundredth place. So to round to the nearest hundredth place, I look at the 7, so I look next door. If it's 5 or more, I have to add 1 more. So I'm going to go next door and add 1 more. So I have $5.47 for my tip. Make sure you clearly label what your tip is on your test. Now, I'm looking for a total amount. Can you remember what you're supposed to do to your $5.47 for your total bill? So, if you said that you were going to add your tip on to your total bill, then you were correct. 36.45 plus 5.47. So I add these together. 5 plus 7 is 2, or 12. Carry the 1. 4 plus 4 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 6 plus 5 is 11. Carry the 1. 41.92. So my total then, is 41.92. Let's move on to number 19. Joe and Joanne eat dinner at Texas Roadhouse. The total for their food is $52. There is an 8% tax, and they wish to leave a 20% tip. How much will they pay? Joe and Joanne eat dinner at Texas Roadhouse. Their total is $52. The tax is 8%, and they wish to leave a 20% tip. How much will they pay altogether? So we could set up a proportion to solve this, but I'm going to go ahead and multiply 52 times 0.08. So I multiply, okay, so I got 0.08 because I turned 8% into a decimal by moving 2 places from the right. 2 times 8 is 16, carry the 1. 8 times 5 is 40 plus 1, 41. And I'll multiply by 0. You get 416. 416. That's a 6 there. Next, I'll have to move my decimal over 2 spots from the right. So I have $4.16 for my sales tax. Next, I'll have to do the same thing, but with 20%.
Where have you been?
So I'll do 2 times 0, which is 0. 0 times 5, which is 0. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 5 is 10. Add them up. Get 1,040. Move my decimal 2 places from the right to get 1040. Now we have sales tax and we have tip here. What do you think our final step is going to be? Well, we need to add 52 to whatever 10.40 and 4.16 is. So we end up with 14.56. So we can add 14.56. You get 66.56. So how much will you pay altogether? 66.56. Number 20. A true A goes to Olive Garden to have dinner. His total bill is $42.50. However, a true A wants to leave a 20% tip of his total bill. How much does a true A leave for his waitress? How much money did a true A end up spending on Olive Garden? So we can do 42.50 times 0.20. So remember, I got 0.20. I'm moving my decimal over 2 places from the right. So now I'll multiply 4250 times 0.20 to get a bunch of zeros there. Now add a place value, 0 again. 5 times 2 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 1 is 5. 4 times 2 is 8. Add my zeros and my numbers. How many places do I move it from the right? Well, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. Okay, 850. So I get 850. That represents a tip. Now they want to know how much he ended up spending altogether at Olive Garden. So we'll do 4250 plus 850. So I do 0 plus 0, which is 0. 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 8 plus 2 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. So true A's total bill then is $51.